Geoff? Huh. Sorry, folks. I guess I'll start the episode. Hello, and welcome to a new episode of B-Movie Enema, the series. I'm Nurse Disembaudee, and normally this is the job of that guy over there, Geoff Arbuckle. Geoff, it's time for the show to start.
Huh? Oh, sorry. Do we need to do the intro?
Already took care of it.
Oh, well, excellent. Good job, nurse.
What are you doing over there?
Well, I was looking for some get-rich-quick schemes.
Oh, okay. You were looking for some get-rich scheme... What? Why?
Well, you know, that's my thing, nurse.
It is?
Oh, yeah. How many episodes have we had on this show where I'm, looking for some get-rich-quick schemes, and sometimes they work out okay, but sometimes, makes us lose everything, and sometimes creates a monkey's paw thing that has, like horrific consequences.
You've never done anything like that.
Oh, sure I have.
Whatever. I guess this is what we're doing this week, so find anything?
Yeah, check it out. There's this essay contest that I could try to enter.
An essay contest? What do you have to write about?
It doesn't really say specifically. I mean, it says something about family, but I think I can probably write something about, I don't know, the Fast and Furious or something.
I'm not so sure this is entirely on the up and up.
Oh, no. I mean, it looks like this contest is being sponsored by a real organization.
Not that. Your plan. Your plan doesn't seem entirely on the up and up.
See, we're doing the typical episode thing with me trying to find a get-rich-quick scheme, and now that's what I call B-Movie Enema.
Ugh.
Oh, check it out. It looks like we have this week's movie, too.
Thank God.
Wait, what was that?
I said thank God as in, thank God we don't have to do this stupid get-rich-quick scheme shtick anymore.
Oh, quit being a sourpuss.
What movie did we get?
Well, what do you know? It's a movie that kind of ties into my scheming.
Oh, that's where we were going with all this nonsense?
Well, this week we're watching 1944 exploitation film I Accuse My Parents.
J'accuse!
Close enough, but I'm positive this movie and that classic open letter of anti-Semitism claims against the president of France at the end of the 19th century is surely interconnected somehow. No, I Accuse My Parents was one of those classic scare films of the 40s and 50s that dealt with juvenile delinquency. Of course, not that long ago we looked at Girl Gang, which was also one of these films which dealt with drug use, and I'm not too sure that many films in the 40s that had delinquents in it dealt as much with drugs as the 30s and 50s and 60s did, but I'd say that movies that dealt with teens in this nature were along the lines of cautionary tales, at least. It's all meant to scare parents into raising their children the right way, whatever that means.
Like maybe keeping an eye on them? Making sure they don't touch everything in a store with their sticky, gooey fingers, and making sure they shut the hell up in the movie theaters?
Yeah, maybe something like that. There is a term that I think is a little bit more of a larger subset of exploitation subgenre called teensploitation. Now, while that term was much more popular to describe the coming-of-age in comedies starring teen characters in the 80s, most definitely there were a lot of films, especially in the 50s, that featured rebellious kids. And the reason why I think this was a little more popular in the 50s was probably because teens started driving themselves and would go on dates with their best gals to the drive-in where they would fumble around bra straps and play grab ass.
Ugh, we've all been there, haven't we, girls?
Now, before that, I think you could argue that these cautionary exploitation films were aimed at adults and parents. If you don't raise your kid to be respectful and care about the authority and staying on the straight and narrow, well, they will instantly get wrapped up in ne'er-do-well behavior.
We have definitely been there, Geoff. Let's not forget we have a dead member of my girl gang sort of haphazardly buried out back.
Yeah, I've kind of been meaning to throw something over those bits sticking out of the ground, but anyway, in the 30s, you could see marijuana, reefer madness, sex madness, and child bride, but by the 40s, there were movies like She Should Have Said No, and I would even say that She Should Have Said No was a precursor to something like Girl Gang. In fact, I would also go so far as to say that both that and Girl Gang are early examples of sexploitation films. While that term is pretty closely affiliated with softcore pornography of the 60s and 70s, as well as boner comedies of the 80s, certainly earlier films used some sex appeal to sell tickets to these types of movies where bad girls did bad things. But more importantly for our discussion here today, She Should Have Said No was released in 1949, 5 years after I Accuse My Parents. Sure, the former dealt with drugs and then sex, while the latter was mostly about crime. However, the key connection between the two is director Sam Newfield, who helmed both films.
Sam Newfield sounds like the name of a department store where I could get myself a nice dress and some classy shoes.
Yeah, the big difference is that Sam Newfield made really bad movies. In a career that spanned from 1926 to 1964, the same year he died, Newfield would rack up an astonishing 277 credits as director of feature films and shorts.
277? That's a ton of movies!
Yeah, and if you go through his IMDb filmography, you'd see year after year after year after year of him making at least 4 or 5 films. In 1942 alone, I think he made something like 19 movies. He made a dozen films in 1944, including I Accuse My Parents. Sometimes, though, he would be credited as something other than Sam or Samuel Newfield. He also used Sherman Scott and Peter Stewart as pseudonyms. At times, another very prolific director, Fred Olen Ray, would use Sam Newfield, Sherman Scott, and Peter Stewart as pseudonyms on his films and projects. But anyway, you'd be surprised to find out that despite how many movies he cranked out during the mid-40s, several of his films would actually get halfway decent ratings from IMDb users. I Accuse My Parents was well down on that list of his best-liked films. In fact, I Accuse My Parents and Lost Continent from 1951 were both films of his that were featured on Mystery Science Theater 3000. Lost Continent featured Cesar Romero, best known to many people my age as the Joker on the 60s Batman series, and Hugh Beaumont, best known to everyone in the world as the patriarch of the Cleaver family on Leave It to Beaver. Now, perhaps my favorite credit to his name, by default, comes very near the end of his career. In 1959, he was listed as the director of Gigantus, the Fire Monster. Do you happen to know what that movie is, Nurse?
No, but I'm sure you can tell me anyway.
Well, I sure as shit can, Nurse. Gigantus the Fire Monster was the Americanized version of Godzilla Raids Again, the slightly lackluster direct sequel to the mid-50s phenomenon Godzilla.
Ooh, is it better than that one with a googly-eyed Godzilla that came out a few years ago?
Not even close. There are a bunch of people listed as directors for that Americanized version. This included Hal Roach and Hal Roach Jr. They were both heads of Hal Roach Studios that produced classic shorts like Our Gang, aka The Little Rascals, and Laurel and Hardy. But I digress. If I had to make a guess, I wouldn't be surprised if Newfield had something to do with either directing the dubbing sessions for the American version or shooting some of the second unit style stuff to be inserted into the new version of the film. But anyway, Godzilla Raids Again or Gigantus the Fire Monster, whichever title you want to use, may not be a great Godzilla film, but it is miles better than this film.
Yikes. Should I be very concerned about this movie?
Maybe.
Oh.
Anyway, Newfield is very well known as one of the most prolific directors in all of Hollywood history. Sure, most were indeed B-movies, but he also worked on comedy shorts and other projects like training and industrial films. Basically, it was said that he would take any job that paid. But most of his work was done through PRC Pictures, which was run by his brother Sigmund. PRC stood for Producers Releasing Corporation, mostly because of the era that PRC was operating in. The studio released westerns, but it did horror on occasion, or, as is the case with I Accuse My Parents, a crime drama here and there. As for the writer for this film, the script was co-written by Harry Fraser and Marjorie Dudley. Now, Fraser was also a director with over 80 credits, but he also wrote a couple of interesting things. The year before I Accuse My Parents, Fraser wrote the screenplay for the 1943 serial Batman, starring Lewis Wilson and Douglas Croft as Batman and Robin, respectively. A year later, the same year as I Accuse My Parents, Fraser supplied the script for the 1944 Captain America serial through Republic Pictures, starring Dick Purcell as Captain America. Now, as cool as knowing this was written by someone who worked on comic book superhero serials, you want to hear something really interesting, Nurse?
Hit me with it.
Now, while Fraser and Dudley provided the actual script, it was based on a story from Arthur Seizure. Now, Seizure was born in Bucharest, Romania, and immigrated to the United States, and he began writing movies in Hollywood in the mid-20s. While most of his work was in the B-movie category, he did win an Academy Award. He won the 1934 Best Original Story Award for Manhattan Melodrama, starring Clark Gable, William Powell, and Myrna Loy. So, I Accuse My Parents came near the end of Caesar's career, as he would only have 2 more writing credits afterwards for 1949's Arson Inc. and 1951's Anne of the Indies. But anyway, I think it's time for the musical romantic crime drama that is I Accuse My Parents to start, so let's roll picture.
You didn't say anything about this being a musical.
James Wilson, during the progress of this trial, you have refused to testify in your own defense, and by your silence have prevented your counsel from adequately defending you. You are charged with manslaughter, and in the evidence presented, in the absence of explanation, would warrant this court in finding you guilty. Before we go any farther, I urge you once again to speak, if there is anything you can say in your own defense.
You keep out of this.
Well, maybe I shouldn't say this, Your Honor, but I accuse my parents.
Let us have order in this court.
Order in the court, please.
Go on, my boy. Tell us exactly what is in your mind.
Well, Your Honor, I don't believe my mother and father should have ever had a child. I don't believe they ever wanted the responsibility. Oh, it wasn't that they were ever unkind to me. They gave me everything I ever wanted except time and attention. I learned to put myself to bed when I was 4 or 5 years old and to get my own breakfast if they weren't up yet when it was time to go to school.
Did you get along well in school?
Oh, yes, sir, I liked it. I had some pretty good friends among my classmates.
And now I'm going to announce the winner of the essay contest. We are very pleased and proud that this honor has fallen to a pupil of our school, James Wilson, for his splendid essay, My Country and My Home. Come forward, James. I would like to quote a closing line from James' essay, which made a particular appeal to the judges. In the ideal American home, the father is happy to care for his wife, who is happy to care for her children, and they are thankful for their happiness and security. And now we want to meet your mother, James. We want to know the woman who has inspired this splendid essay. The Committee of Mothers is meeting here tomorrow at 11 o'clock to discuss plans for the graduation exercises. And we'd love to have your mother serve on the committee, James.
Oh, gee, thanks. I'm sure she'll be pleased.
Very well, James.
Mom! Mama?
Hello, Jimmy.
Oh, hello, Shirley.
Is your mother home?
No, she isn't.
Oh, never mind. I didn't want to see her especially. Besides, I can see her later. You can offer me a drink if you wanna. And I think you wanna.
Sure, help yourself.
Thanks. Well, how about you? Come on, join me. Can't do any more than kill you.
No, thanks. Not for me. I've been hitting it too hard lately.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of tough when it gets the best of you. Well, here goes for both of us.
Looks like you're having yourselves a time, you two. What goes on here?
This is my first. I wouldn't know about Jim.
Mother home yet?
No.
Means another cold supper, I suppose. Or we eat out.
Well, what can you expect? 9 times out of 10, if she did stay home all day cooking, you'd phone the last minute you had a business date and couldn't make it.
You women certainly stick together, don't you?
Not necessarily. I'd rather stick to an attractive man, anytime.
Home so early, Dan.
I was a half hour late, but I was only detained on business. You probably had more important things to do.
Well, you needn't be so cross about it. I'm sorry if I'm late, but the buses are so crowded and I couldn't get a taxi.
I suppose you couldn't have tried an hour earlier.
No, I couldn't. Fix Mother a drink, James. I'm exhausted.
Are we going to have any dinner tonight?
In a minute. It's all in the icebox, ready to serve. Won't you stay and have a bite with us, Shirley?
Oh, no, thanks. I have a date.
Another time, then.
Thanks. Well, may the best man win.
I've had just about enough of this. I won't put up with it any longer.
What are you talking about?
The whole setup. No decent meals on time. The house is always in a mess while you're gadding about making a fool of yourself.
You do what you please. Why shouldn't I do what I please?
That's okay with me. But you're not going to do it while you're my wife.
That suits me. You don't suppose I like going on like this, do you? I'd have divorced you years ago if it hadn't been for Jimmy.
Mother, Dad, please.
A flood of help you've been to him. A fine home you've made for him.
Well, how about the example you've set him? Out gambling every night, sometimes not even coming home at all.
Well, a man has to do something to pass the time. There's nothing to bring a man home to a place like this.
Then why do you come home?
Maybe I won't in the future.
Dad, I've got something to tell you.
Yes, son?
It's something about school. I won the essay contest, and the principal said...
Well, say, that's fine. Here's $5. Go out and celebrate.
Oh, never mind, Mom. He'll be back.
I don't care whether he comes back or not. Won't be any different if he does.
Well, maybe it will. You see, I didn't tell Dad all that happened at school today. The principal wants you to meet with the parents' graduation committee tomorrow at 11. Mrs. Carlisle and Mrs. Whitney are going to be there. All the most important women in the neighborhood.
Why, Jimmy. And they really want me to be there.
Well, sure they do. And I want you to go, Mom. Gee, you'll be the swellest looking one there.
I could wear my new afternoon dress and that hat I just bought. Wait till he gets billed for that hat. What's so funny?
The mirror ought to tell you.
I'm getting ready to go to Jim's school.
Well, you certainly look the part. Why don't you act your age?
Stop criticizing me. You don't like my clothes. You don't like my hat. You don't like it if I sit around here. You don't like it if I go out. Well, let's stop this ridiculous farce. Why don't we quit?
Great idea. Thanks for the suggestion.
I'm going to work on the decorating committee.
Oh, isn't that swell? Some of us girls thought we could bring some flowers. But if Jimmy's essay was good enough to win the contest, I think he should read it at the graduation exercises.
Why, yes, what an excellent idea.
Oh, it wasn't anything, really. I wrote about my home, that's all. It's the way any other fella's is. The way a home ought to be.
A very happy home, obviously. I'm most anxious to meet your mother.
Oh, Mom's swell. Of course, I'm pretty lucky. I'm an only child, and she can devote more time to me than if I had a lot of brothers and sisters.
She must take a great interest in her home.
She does. That's all she thinks about. But what else is there? What's more important when you come right down to it? A woman's job is her home and family, isn't it? At least that's the way my mom figures.
Hello, everybody. Sorry if I'm late. I'm Jimmy Wilson's mother.
She's drunk.
How shocking. Poor Jimmy. How terrible.
Mom.
Well, hello, Jimmy. Am I late? When's the meeting start?
Come on, Mom. Let's go home.
Oh, what's your hurry? Aren't you going to introduce me?
Some other time, Mom. Please, come on. Let's go home.
Well, goodbye, folks. Oh, what's your hurry, Jimmy? I want to go to the meeting.
She's drunk.
How shocking. Poor Jimmy. Terrible. Dreadful.
Did you ever sell shoes before? No, sir. You think you could? Oh, yes, sir, if you give me a try. You live with your parents? Yes, sir. Well, you look like a good boy. I think I'll give you a try. Now, the job pays $25 a week, and you get an hour off for lunch. Got to be here every morning at 9, work till 6. Okay? Yes, sir. Okay, and I'll show you the stuff. You interested in something in shoes?
Yes. I'd like to see those suede slippers in the window. The black ones with the bows.
Certainly.
Here, you better let me help you.
Oh, that's all right.
Oh. Here, wait a minute. There.
Oh.
Eights? Oh, you better try again. There's something wrong. Better with your hand out.
Oh. Sixes. I got my thumb caught.
I'll do it. What do you think?
Beautiful.
The shoes, I mean.
Oh, they look like they might have been made for you.
They probably were. Destiny, you know. I'm a fatalist. I believe that everything happens as it should happen. Just like my coming in here and buying these shoes from you.
You really believe that?
Of course. How much are they?
$9.95, including tax.
Oh, you'll have to send them COD.
Oh, I'm sorry, we can't do that. Well, I mean, we don't make deliveries, see.
Oh, well, I don't live very far. Maybe you could drop them off on your way home.
Yeah, maybe I could.
My name's Kitty Reed. 425 East 54th Street. What time will you be by?
Well, I get off work about 6. I guess I could make it in about 10 minutes.
Oh, that's fine. I'll be looking for you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello.
Hello. Here's your shoes.
Oh, thanks. But you're 2 minutes late.
Yeah, I know. I had to put away some of the stock.
Well, come on in.
Thanks.
You know, it might not be important, but if someone dropped in accidentally and I had to introduce you, I think it might be just as well if I knew your name.
Oh, James Wilson, but everybody calls me Jimmy.
Okay, Jimmy. Everyone calls me Kitty. Sit down.
Okay, Kitty.
Will you have some, or would you rather have a drink?
Oh, no thanks. Not for me. I've been hitting that stuff kind of heavy lately. Besides, my mother doesn't like to smell it on my bread. You know how mothers are.
I've heard tell. I never had one myself, but enough to remember.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I got used to being on my own a long time ago.
You live here alone?
No, with Vera Moore. She's in the show with me.
Oh, are you an actress?
Well, not an actress exactly. I work in a nightclub, the Paradise. Have you ever been there?
No, but I'll come and see you some night.
Oh, that's swell, Jimmy. I'll be looking for you.
You know, it seemed kind of strange to me just living here like this with another friend.
Yeah, I know. Not having anyone to come home to. Like a family.
That's right. Oh, when I open the door, why, Mom is sure to call out, "Is that you, Jim?" No matter what time of day or night it is. I get so I expect it. Of course, I always tell her to go to bed when I'm going to be late, but she never does. She worries about me, I guess. She can't rest until I get home.
She sounds sweet.
Oh, she is. She's wonderful. She's the best mother a guy ever had. And Dad's pretty swell, too. He takes an interest in everything I do. Why, when we talk, it's just like two fellas my age instead of father and son. Mom says she really has two beaux.
Must be wonderful to grow up in a home like that. I almost did. My folks split up about 3 years ago, and I've been on my own ever since.
Well, you seem to have done pretty well on your own.
Wish I could believe that. Well, I better pay you for the shoes before I talk you out of it.
Oh, no, don't do that. I mean, I'd like to give them to you as a gift, if you let me, as a sort of a celebration. You see, you were my first customer.
Well, that's awfully sweet, but you can't afford to give me a gift like that, can you?
Oh, sure I can. I've got plenty of money. I'm not just an ordinary shoe salesman, you know. I'm just looking into the business and trying it out. If I like it and decide to stay, why, my dad might buy me a store.
Oh, I see. And that's my first baby picture. Isn't it awful?
No, I think it's kind of cute.
That's me when I was 10.
Hey, you can tell you were going to be beautiful.
And that's Aunt Harriet. She suffered from chronic indigestion.
Yeah, I guess she was suffering from something.
Oh, say it's late. I have to be at the Paradise in a half hour.
Oh, I better go then.
And quick.
Well, will I see you soon?
I hope so, Jimmy.
Oh, pardon me. I thought you'd be gone. You're kind of late, aren't you?
Oh, I was just ready to leave. Miss Vera Moore, Mr. Jimmy Wilson.
How do you do?
I'm doing fine. So are you, I see.
Well, so long, Kitty.
Bye, Jimmy.
Hey, what is this? You'd better watch your step, hadn't you?
Blake?
Yeah, Blake. In case you've forgotten, he's madly in love with you.
Yeah, I know. But Jimmy seems so different. He's so sweet. The kind of a kid every girl dreams about.
Now, don't tell me it's love at first sight.
Well, what's so impossible about that?
Thanks, sister.
Hey, come back with that.
Oh, they're fine.
You know, the trouble with cocktail parties is they end too soon.
They don't have to. You can make them last as long as you like.
Well, I like this one to last at least 3 days. Say, why don't we go down to Jack Taylor's, down at the beach? He's got lots of room, lots of liquor. We spend the weekend.
That's a wonderful idea. Listen, everybody. How about going down to Jack Taylor's at the beach for the weekend?
That's the idea.
Mom, you can't go to the beach tonight.
Oh, Jimmy, I didn't know you were home.
Well, I guess you forgot. Tomorrow's my birthday.
Oh, that's right, Jim. Well, here's $20. Go out and have a party with your old friends. Take out your best girl.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you and Mom about.
Oh, then there is a woman in the case.
And what a woman. Take a look at this. Hey, gang, Jimmy's got a girl.
Son of a gun.
Bye, Jimmy. See you in a couple of days. Bye-bye.
See you later, Jimmy.
Bonsoir, monsieur. You desire a table?
Yes.
This way, please.
Do you know when Miss Kitty Reed goes on?
Right after this number. Monsieur. Monsieur will have a drink first?
Oh, yes.
Voilà, monsieur.
Well, bring me 2 champagne cocktails.
2?
Yes, 2.
Very good, monsieur.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our singing star, Miss Kitty Reed.
Are you happy in your work? Do you never, ever shirk? Does your morning menu really send you on your way? Do you greet each day? And is it a deal, a real appeal? Feel you're earning your pay? Are you grateful you're alive? Is your day full, 9 to 5, living in the rhythm that I'm speaking of? You'll be happy in your work if you're in love.
though you're banker or a clerk, are your dishes as delicious as your happy grin? Do your hours spin? And are you aglow to check chapeau? Know you're making your tin. Do you carry crumbs away? Are you merry with your tray? Living in the rhythm that I'm speaking of. You'll be happy in your work if you're in love. Are you happy in your work? Do you never, ever shirk? Does your little birdie have a purty, flirty way? Does he keep you gay? And is it a break to bake a cake, make a dainty souffle? Are you lively? Are you hip? Are you jivey? Right in step, living in the rhythm that I'm speaking of. You'll be happy in your work if you're in love. You'll be happy in your work if you're in love.
All right, so Jimmy's got some troubles on his hands. As the movie begins, he's clearly on trial for something, and, like any normal criminal trial, he's given the chance to speak to the judge, the court, and basically anyone who will hear him out and explain what the events were that led him to the predicament that he's in at the start of the movie.
Now, Geoff, let's be honest here.
Well, by all means, nurse, speak your mind.
Are we really meant to believe Jimmy is a teenager?
Yeah, well, in all the times I've seen this movie, mostly thanks to Mystery Science Theater, I've never quite wrapped my brain around Jimmy's supposed high school situation.
I mean, okay, the actor was 22 at the time he made this, but seriously, he doesn't really make me believe he's a high school kid. He dresses like an adult, and he talks like an adult pretending to be some naive rube.
Yeah, we'll come back around to his doings in this movie, but Jimmy's played by Robert Lowell. Now, Lowell is kind of an interesting actor. I don't know if he's still alive or what he's up to, but between 1943 and 1948, he appeared in 18 films. Most of these films actually have pretty high IMDb user ratings. That said, most of his appearances in films were uncredited. That wasn't too uncommon back then. Credits weren't as extensive as they are today. Likely, if they were using the 2024 standards for credits, he would have been officially credited in all of his films. But I Accuse My Parents was his first actual credit. His last credit was 1994's Hellbound, starring Chuck Norris. The most interesting thing of note about Hellbound, it was the final film ever released by Canon Films. But the actors playing his parents, on the other hand, are quite recognizable. His father is played by John Miljan. Now, Miljan ended up with appearances in more than 200 films between 1924 and 1958. And it looks as though most of his films were either westerns or war films, and he certainly appeared in mostly westerns before World War II, and then a lot of war films after the United States joined the Allies. His biggest film by far was playing the blind one in 1956's The Ten Commandments, directed by Cecil B. DeMille. One interesting film of note, I mentioned Fast and Furious earlier when I said I was going to write an essay about family. Well, there was a 1939 film called Fast and Furious that Miljan appeared in.
But was it all about family?
I don't know, but ostensibly I Accuse My Parents is.
Jury's still out on that one, Geoff. It mostly seems like a kid who's been held back many years is finally gifted the honor of winning the essay contest out of, people feeling kind of sorry for him. Anyway, his dad drags his mom a lot by saying things like, look in the mirror to find out what's wrong, and just tears her down all the time. I guess he cared enough about Jimmy's essay to give him a $5 for winning.
Yeah, I guess. But anyway, Jimmy's mom is played by Vivian Osborne. Now, Osborne was a child actor on stage in the very early part of the 20th century. Eventually, she got into silent film and then into the talkies. I Accuse My Parents was her next to last film credit. She played Marcia Ferguson in the crime film The Famous Ferguson Case, which was about a woman who was found in her home bound and gagged and her husband shot dead. She's put on trial because she was having an affair. The starring in the film was Joan Blondell, who was at the start of her big pre-Code era stardom with Warner Brothers. But anyway, Osborne was not a huge star, but a reliable character actress for several years and would have likely been somewhat recognizable to some in the audience.
I like how she plays kind of a cartoonish drunk.
Yeah, the movie really kind of lays it on pretty thick, doesn't it?
That's putting it kind of mildly.
Yeah, I suppose so. But so everything in this movie basically hinges on this essay that Jimmy wrote. He wins this award for his glowing fiction he created about his home life. Now, I suppose you can say he seems to have something of an upper class or maybe upper middle class life.
Yeah, he and his parents seem to live in a huge house.
Yeah, they do. And so he gets home hoping to tell his parents about his essay winning this contest. And he gets to present what he wrote to the whole school, I guess. Jesus, Nurse, I mean, could you imagine going to that convocation to hear some drip read his own essay about how great his family is?
I probably would have killed myself just right there in the middle of the whole thing.
I mean, would you take out any of those judgy bitches laughing at Jimmy's mom for being drunk when she shows up at the school to be present for the reading?
All of them. Every last one of those bitches.
Fair, but also yikes, but definitely fair. Anyway, we have this other chick who walks into Jimmy's house when he comes home from school.
Shirley? What's her deal?
You know, I have no idea. We see her like twice in this whole movie. She comes in, flirts with Jimmy. I mean, lady, he's maybe a high school kid. I don't know. Jury's still out on that one. Then she flirts with Jimmy's dad. Lady, the guy's like 50 and has a massive whiskey dick.
I think you said that in the worst way possible, but I can't deny that you're probably right.
Sorry, I have to call it as I see it, but when we see her again, she's going on and on about Jimmy having a girlfriend at this giant party.
Yeah, was Jimmy's parents throwing a raging kegger?
I guess so, but man, I feel Jimmy's embarrassment. I always hate it when people go on and on about liking a girl or going on a date with someone. Jesus, just leave me alone and give me my birthday money, motherfuckers.
Geoff, do you have some unresolved trauma?
No comment.
Hey, but at least Jimmy can get some gainful employment as a shoe salesman.
Surely the noblest of all professions. Yeah, he essentially becomes Al Bundy. But right away, he gets to help Kitty Reed. Now, we'll talk more about her in the next segment, but Jimmy apparently has a thing for feet because he instantly agrees to deliver her shoes to her after he gets off from work, and then ends up giving the pair of shoes to her for being his first customer.
Yeah, of course that's what you do. You get a job as a salesman, you're supposed to just give your first customer the thing you sell and pay for it yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I figured it would be like that thing where businesses hang up a dollar bill from their first sale, except for Jimmy. He's got a creepy stealth Polaroid of Kitty's feet hanging on his wall back at home.
Good God, Geoff, that's disturbing.
Yeah, I suppose so, but Jimmy's definitely a freak.
Hello, stranger.
Hello.
I knew I'd probably see you again, but I didn't think it was going to be quite so soon.
Oh, I know, but you see, when I got home, I found out my folks were going away for the weekend, and tomorrow's my birthday. So I thought I'd come down and celebrate it ahead of time with you.
Well, it's a wonderful idea. But didn't your folks want to celebrate it with you?
Oh, they wanted to. In fact, I had a pretty tough time persuading them to go, but... Well, you see, my grandmother isn't well, and I thought they ought to go see her.
Oh, I see. But don't you have some other friends that you'd rather be with? I mean those that you've known longer than you have me.
Sure, but... Well, I'd rather be with you.
Thank you, Jimmy. I'm flattered.
Shall we dance?
Okay. I'm glad you came over at that.
Are you really?
If we're going to be friends, it'll give us a chance to be better acquainted.
Oh, I feel as though I've known you for years already.
Oh, you do? Well, suppose you start telling me something about myself.
All right. Let's see, when you were 10 years old...
Oh, now, wait a minute. That's going to be a long story. Suppose we sit the rest of this one out,
Okay. I took the liberty of sitting here. I hope you don't mind.
Not at all. Oh, this is Jimmy Wilson, a boy from my hometown. I met him today by accident. This is Mr. Blake, Jimmy, my boss.
How do you do? I'm glad to know any friend of Kitty's. You going to be in town long, Mr. Wilson? I live here. Oh, I see. I guess you see quite a change in Kitty since the last time you saw her, huh? Oh, not so very much. Of course, her clothes are different. Yes, I'm sure they are. You see, she spends a lot more nowadays than she did back in Iowa. Dance, Kitty?
Okay, Charlie.
You'll excuse us, of course, Mr. Wilson. Sure, go right ahead. Thank you. Where'd you run into the little Lord Fauntleroy?
In a shoe store. I went in to buy some shoes, and there he was. Isn't that a funny coincidence?
Selling shoes, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a nice kid. I might be able to help him do better.
Look, Charlie, lay off.
I'm only trying to help him.
I know other people you've helped, and they all
Shut
end
up. I can use the kid. Just whose welfare are you interested in, his or mine?
Yours, of course.
Okay, see that it stays that way. I want you to give me a build-up with the kid. Tell him what a great guy I am. What a good friend I've been to you. I might find him useful.
Okay.
Oh, I ordered for all of us. I hope it's all right. But you see, tomorrow's my birthday, and I'm celebrating.
For your birthday? Well, of course it's all right. As a matter of fact, we'll make a night of it. What do you say, kitten?
Fine, I'm for it.
Well, here you are, Jimmy. Happy birthday to you.
Happy
Thank
birthday,
you.
Jimmy.
Everything satisfactory, Mr. Blake?
Oh, fine, thanks, Trent.
Say, you haven't forgotten about that package you left with me.
Oh, no, I'll have it picked up in a couple of days.
Okay.
And Trent.
Yes.
This party's on the kid.
Thanks.
Say, what are you doing tomorrow? Or today, I guess. It must be Sunday morning already.
It is. Why? What's on your mind?
Well, I thought with my folks away that we could spend my birthday together.
Well, why not? I'll tell you, Jimmy. You come to my apartment about 12, and I'll fix you an old-fashioned birthday breakfast. Vera went away for the weekend.
Oh, swell. You know, tonight's been great. Only be nicer if Mr. Blake hadn't come along.
If you'd ask him, he'd say the same about you. Don't you like Mr. Blake?
Oh, I guess he's all right. Oh, isn't he all right?
Yeah, I guess.
Well, don't you like him?
Sure, but I wouldn't want you to be like him.
Why? What's wrong with you?
Oh, he's money mad. Wants to get rich quick.
Hey, is that bad?
Sometimes. I think you have a better future in the shoe business.
Oh, Kitty, Trent's been asking if you'd sing a song.
Well, I'd be glad to, Mr. Trent.
Thanks, Miss Reed. It'll be a treat for my patrons.
Excuse me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a big surprise for you this evening. The star from the Paradise, Miss Kitty Reed.
She's a nice girl, isn't she?
Oh, she sure is. I've never met anyone like her before.
She's rather an expensive girl to take out.
Oh, nothing's too good for a girl like her.
Love came between us, showed us the way. Love must have seen us wandering round the town. We were going this way, that way, way, then it took us by the hand. Led us every which way, showed us the kiss way to the promised land. Love recommended, taking a spin. Love sure intended we should get in the swim. Right from the start, my heart has felt no pain. For grass is the greenest since love came between us to lead us down the lane. Love came between us. Da 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 da. Love must have seen us wandering round the town. We were going this way, that way, this way. Then it took us by the hand. Led us every which way, showed us the kiss way to the promised land. Love recommended, da 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 da. Love sure intended we should get in the swim. Right from the start, my heart has felt no pain. Oh, grass is the greenest since love came between us to lead us down the lane. You should have seen us when love came between us to lead us down that lover's
Thank you, Miss Reed. Gee, you were swell, Kitty.
Thanks, Jimmy.
So as I was saying, Jimmy, if you'd like to add to your income sometime, I might be able to throw a few odd jobs your way.
What kind of odd job?
Oh, little things you could do for me after working hours. Here's my card if you're interested. Look me up sometime.
Well, thanks, I will.
Yeah, it's getting late. We got places to go. Waiter, check.
Okay. Oh, let me have that. You took care of it at the Paradise.
Okay.
Gee, I'm afraid I don't have quite enough cash to cover this.
Well, they'll take your check.
Oh, will they? Well, have you got a blank check?
Sure. I see you use the same bank I do.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's get going. Come on.
Me?
Yes, sir?
I want you to go to the bank for me and make a deposit.
Yes, sir.
And, Jimmy, you might put these through. Maybe they'll be good now. If they bounce back again, I'm going to put that Mr. Smith in jail.
Take the other window.
Oh, thanks.
I'm sorry. You can deposit this.
Oh.
Sit down. Glad you dropped in. You've been thinking over my suggestion?
Yes, in a way I have. You see...
And you could use a little cash, is that right?
Yes. There's a friend of mine in trouble, and I'd like to help him out.
Well, how much do you want?
About $100.
Well, that's a lot of money, Jimmy. But I guess I can advance it to you. When you begin to work for me, why, you can pay me back.
That'd be swell if you would, Mr. Blake. I could start working for you any time you say.
Good. You can begin right now. First thing I want you to do is to go to the bank and rent a safe deposit box. At times, there may be some valuable papers I want you to take care of for me.
All right, I'll do that.
Now, don't be surprised if this job gets you up at odd hours of the night. I'll make it worth your while.
Well, maybe I ought to quit the shoe store.
No, there's no need to do that. You stay at the store until I get you on a full-time job.
If you say so.
Now, tonight, I want you to go to this address and pick up a package. You just show him this, and he'll know it's okay.
Well, should I bring the package back?
No. In the morning, put it in the safe deposit box. And I'll let you know when I want it.
All right.
Jimmy, this will take care of the rental of the box, and you can keep the rest of it.
Thanks.
By the way, I'd rather you wouldn't say anything to anyone about working for me. You know, if your boss found out, he might not like it.
I won't.
And when you get through work tomorrow, give me a ring.
Yes, sir. Hey, you two staying home tonight?
Well, your father's going to the club to play cards later. I thought you and I might do something, but I see you have other plans.
Well, I'm sorry. I have got a rather heavy date. Why don't you call up one of your gang?
Maybe I will.
Well, bye now.
Bye. Jimmy's changed these last few weeks. Have you noticed it, Dan?
Yeah, he seems to have grown up overnight.
Well, I don't like it. What do you suppose he's doing out every night in the week? For several nights he didn't come home at all.
Maybe he stayed with a friend. It's a little late to start asking questions now.
Well, after all, you're his father. You ought to keep an eye on him.
Well, you're his mother. You stay home once in a while, you might know what he's up to. Maybe he's got a girlfriend, that's all. I have when I was his age.
Well, I hope he's not going to start taking after you.
Hello, Kitty. I brought you a little something.
Oh, Jimmy. Not another present.
Why, sure. I like buying presents for you. It's fun.
Jimmy, I don't want you to be offended, but I've got to ask you something. You're not mixed up in anything that isn't quite on the level, are you?
Whatever gave you that idea?
Oh, I don't know, except that you have so much more money to spend lately.
Look, don't you worry about me. I wouldn't do anything that wasn't on the right side of the law.
I hope not, Jimmy. You're so sweet, I wouldn't want you to change.
Why should I change?
People do in this town.
Well, just so you don't, Kitty.
Say, Eddie Manners gave me 2 tickets for the Folly Sunday.
Oh, that's fine. You can just cancel that like you did our luncheon date today.
Oh, now look, kitten, can I help it if I'm busy? I don't know, hanged if I can find time to do the things we've planned. But business is sure picking up.
Well, that's good.
You bet, for both of us. The higher Charlie Blake goes?
The higher Kitty Reed.
You said it.
Well, bye, darling. Oh, I meant to ask you before. Have you put Jimmy Wilson to work?
Why, I haven't laid eyes on him. Have you seen him?
Well, sure, several times. You asked me to give you a build-up, remember?
Must have been a swell build-up you gave him to keep him away like this.
Well, the way he talked, I thought by now he'd be pounding on your door for a job.
No, I haven't seen him. I guess he's pounding on the wrong door.
I guess.
Hey, you talk about me giving you a stand-up. Where have you been disappearing to after the show every night? We sure get out of that dressing room in a hurry. And I've been missing you.
Well, Charlie, you know the old saying, early to bed and early to rise. Well, that's me. Bye now.
Goodbye.
You're due with Mr. Blake. How long have you been with him?
A few weeks. I'm not working full-time for him yet.
See. I'll be with you in a minute. Now, this is very important. See that Mr. Blake gets this note tonight. And be sure that you give it to no one but him.
All right, I'll do that.
tell you, Charlie. I'm getting worried about that Wilson kid.
The kid's doing all right.
I'll say he is. He's on the loose already, hitting the high spots. And that's dangerous. He's getting around fast. It's about time you wised him up so he won't talk out of turn.
I'll let him know what he's doing when I'm ready. So far, the kid's handled close to $100,000. And just where would we be without him? You know, we're too hot to handle the stuff ourselves.
I still don't like it. Well, you know, when a young kid like that gets a couple of drinks under his belt and a pretty gal on his arm, there's no telling what he'd say or do.
Look, we'll be in the clear in another week, so just relax. You better get in the other office. Someone coming. What's the idea coming back here? I told you what to do with that package.
I know you did, Mr. Blake, but Mr. Carlton said to give you this note. He said it was important.
It's all right, Jimmy. You did the right thing. Better wait out in the outer office. I may have something else for you to do.
Okay, Mr. Blake.
All right, boys, come on in. Get this. Chuck, I tried to get the painting out of Gordon's dead storage. Couldn't make it as the place is being watched. Don't send any more packages. I'm leaving town. Take my tip and do the same. Carl.
Well, how do you like that? I thought that stuff was safe there. $30,000 worth of diamonds. What are you going to do now, Charlie?
You two are going down to the warehouse and get it out tonight and take the kid with you.
Take the kid? What for?
May take two of you to do the job. I'll have him rent a car and he can drive for you. Well, Jimmy, I want you to go down to Olson's before it closes and rent a car. Come back here at 12 o'clock tonight and pick up the boys and take them down to Gordon's warehouse to pick up a package. Then drive them back here.
Okay, Mr. Blake.
Hello, Kitty. This is Jimmy. Remember me? I'm your boyfriend.
You'd better be.
Can I see you tonight? We'll go dancing.
Of course you can, Jimmy.
Oh, swell. I've got a little business to take care of, and I'll be about a half hour late. I've got something awfully important to ask you.
Now, don't tell me you're going to propose to me.
Maybe.
All right, hon. I'll be looking for you.
Wait here. I'll be back in an hour.
Oh, hello. I didn't expect to see you, Charlie.
I know you didn't. You expected the kid. He'll be here. First of all, you and I are going to straighten out something. What's going on between you two?
I don't know what you're talking about, Charlie.
No? Well, then I'll make it clear. I heard that phone conversation you had a little while ago. He was talking from my office. So you really fell in love with the kid. Now look, nobody's going to take you away from me. Nobody. You understand?
Why, Charlie, you don't really think I fell for that kid, do you? Why, you asked me to string him along. Can I help it if he fell for me? Don't worry about it, will you? He's as good as forgotten.
I'm going to give you a chance to prove that. When he gets here, I want you to get rid of him. Your way. Or would you rather have me do it?
Okay, Charlie. It ought to be a cinch.
I'll be in there listening.
Come on, honey, let's get going. We've only got a few hours. I have some work to do later on.
I'm not going.
Hey, are you kidding? Why, over the phone, you just got through saying we'd go someplace.
I know, but after I talked to you, I changed my mind. An old friend of mine called, and I'm going out with him.
Hey, you say that so convincingly, I almost believe it.
You can believe it.
Do you mean that?
Of course I mean it.
Yeah, but look what...
Oh, you poor chump. Did you really take me seriously? Did you think for 1 minute that I loved you or that I wanted to marry you? Why, can you imagine Kitty Reed cooped up in a little 2x4 cottage with a string of kids climbing all over? Oh, no, not Kitty. You know, Jimmy, I thought that for a while you might go someplace. But you'll always be a shoe salesman at $25 a week. And, my ambition's a little higher than that. Now, why don't you run along and peddle your papers? You annoy me. Are you satisfied, Charlie?
Well, you saved me a lot of trouble, kitten. I'll see you in the morning.
All right, Geoff, I gotta ask.
Huh? Oh, what's up?
I know this is the 40s or whatever, but did teenagers regularly get into swanky nightclubs?
I mean, I think most 10-year-olds smoked cigarettes back then, so why wouldn't 18-year-olds get into nightclubs and just guzzle booze?
Boy, howdy. They ran up an $80 bill, too.
I mean, to be fair, they did order 4 lobsters Louis, 4 filet mignon with 3 bottles of champagne, and I guess that can run up the bill pretty fast.
Yeah, that would be something a kid would do if he thought he was trying to fit in with the high-rolling adults.
Wait. They ordered 4 each of the meals, and there were only 3 of them. Was there another character there the whole time that I just didn't know it?
Oh, Geoff, it's customary in movies for characters to order an extra meal for the audience.
You know, that's just stupid enough for that to be the real thing back then. But anyway, we heard the musical stylings of Kitty Reed.
Okay, wait a minute.
What's the problem now?
What the hell is the kiss way to the promised land?
Oh, that's 40s vernacular for getting railed.
Oh.
Yeah, anyway, yes, Kitty Reed. She's played by Mary Beth Hughes. Now, Hughes was actually billed first for this movie because she was a starlet who was a contract player for a couple of studios, even though she was mostly a B-movie star. Remember that 1939 Fast and Furious I mentioned earlier? Well, she was in that too in the earlier part of her career. She first was given a contract for 20th Century Fox. That got her in the Great Profile, which starred John Barrymore. Hughes herself said that was one of her favorite films that she was ever in. The contract expired in 1943, just a year before I Accuse My Parents. Before getting a 3-picture deal with Universal, she was doing nightclub acts, so I guess you can say she was aptly cast in this as a nightclub singer. And yes, she is singing those songs herself. While still with Fox, she had her most famous role as Henry Fonda's ex-girlfriend in the Oxbow Incident. That film was a Best Picture nominee. So, get this, Nurse. You want to know how much control studios had with their contracted talent?
I'm pretty sure this will make me feel icky, but go ahead.
Well, she was often sent on studio-appointed dates with actors. When she had her original MGM contract, she was seen with actors like Lou Ayres, Mickey Rooney, and James Stewart. Then, with Fox, she went on arranged dates with Milton Berle and George Montgomery. I'm guessing things went south with Fox when she got into a relationship with Robert Stack for a year.
Gross. I mean, not gross that she dated the guy from Unsolved Mysteries, but gross that the studios cared that much.
Yeah, that's just the way things were back then. Kind of gross. But she appeared in The Great Flammarion with Erich von Stroheim. That's considered a masterpiece in the early noir era, and that was directed by Anthony Mann. By the early 60s, Hughes retired from acting, and after leaving film and television, she worked as a receptionist at a plastic surgeon's chop shop. However, she kept doing nightclub gigs, so it would appear her first love was always singing. She would eventually come back to do a few movies in the 70s. One of those movies was Stephanie Rothman's The Working Girls in 1974. Now, I definitely do think she's a pretty woman, but perfect for this part because she is kind of the girl next door. After all, I guess she did, at one point in time, go to Jimmy's school, but she's probably a little older than him, so how did they really know each other? Never mind, who really cares?
You know what the real crime of this movie is? What's with the Blake guy? Like, how old is he? And he's trying to go after Kitty? Gross.
Yeah, he is a controlling creep, ain't he? He's played by George Meeker. Now, Meeker has a star on the Walk of Fame in Hollywood. He was a lifelong character actor. He also appeared in the famous Ferguson case with Vivian Osborne. He also appeared in 1940's High Sierra and 1938's Marie Antoinette, in which he played Robespierre. Meeker seemed to mostly play guys you weren't supposed to like or someone you shouldn't trust. According to his IMDb page, he was often the third wheel of a romantic triangle, and he would always lose the girl. He was often a crooked lawyer or shady businessman. It said he specialized in crime movies and was either always the guilty party or the victim who kind of deserved it anyway.
He's a total creep.
Oh, definitely. And if you weren't so sure, just look at the card that he gives Jimmy when he tries to rope him into doing illegal shit. It just reads, Charles Blake, Business Enterprises.
Yeah, what kind of business enterprises?
You know, business kinds of enterprises.
That doesn't sound shady whatsoever.
Yeah, well, the songs in this movie, which as I said were sung by Mary Beth Hughes herself, were written by Ray Evans and Jay Livingston. They were actually quite big in the business. I wouldn't be surprised if that was what everyone at PRC was hoping would sell the movie. Together, Evans and Livingston were nominated 7 times for Best Original Song Oscars. But they did win 3 times for the songs Buttons and Bows in The Paleface, Mona Lisa in Captain Carey USA, and Whatever Will Be, also known as Que Sera, Sera, from The Man Who Knew Too Much. Their other 4 nominations were for The Cat and the Canary from the movie Why Girls Leave Home, Tammy from Tammy and the Bachelor, and Almost in Your Arms from Houseboat, and the theme song to Dear Heart, which they wrote with Henry Mancini. So, yeah, I mean, of all the things about I Accuse My Parents, I would say Ray Evans and Jay Livingston would definitely be the names that would be most appreciated in the cast and crew. They also share a star on the Walk of Fame as well.
At least the songs are catchy in this.
You know, that is definitely true. I have no notes for the movie when it comes to the songs that Mary Beth Hughes sings. But let's get to the exciting conclusion of I Accuse My Parents and bring this bad boy in for a landing.
Get going, kid, quick. What happened? Get going.
I knew that nervous trigger finger of yours would get us into trouble sooner or later.
Well, it was either him or us.
What about the kid?
He ought to be here any minute, and he's ready to scream.
And you better do some fancy talking, Blake. We're going to have trouble with him.
Just let me handle him.
Why didn't you tell me I was driving a car to a holdup?
I didn't see any reason to tell you, Jimmy. I never told you about any of the other jobs you did for me.
What other jobs? What do you mean?
You don't think I've been paying you the kind of money I have just to pick up packages? If they'd been on a level, I could have gotten a messenger for a lot less than you've been getting.
I didn't know there was anything crooked about the job. I don't want any part of it. I'm quitting right now.
No, you're not. Nobody ever quits on Charlie Blake. He doesn't want him to.
Whatever I've done, I'm not going to stand for murder. I'll tell the police. I'll tell them about you. I'll tell them what you did to me. I'll tell...
You won't tell him anything. You're in this whether you like it or not. Just as much as if you handle a gun. You tell the police and you'll get 20 years. Now go ahead and talk. Oh, it's better. Sense of getting panicky? Tell you what you do. You go on home and get a good night's rest and forget about it. Tomorrow morning, go back to the store as if nothing had happened. And don't worry about getting into a jam. I have enough influence to pull you out.
Hello?
Hello, this is Jimmy Wilson. Is Kitty there? I gotta talk to her.
Just a minute, and I'll see if she's here.
It's Jimmy Wilson. He wants to talk to you.
Tell him I'm not here.
Well, I'm sorry, Jimmy, but she's not here.
Thanks.
Come on, kid, get wise to yourself. You knew from the start nothing could come of this business with Jimmy Wilson. Not as long as Blake was in love with you. You knew eventually you'd have to brush him off.
But if he hadn't met me, then maybe none of this would have happened. I introduced him to Blake.
Okay, but you're not to blame for him getting mixed up with him. And it could have happened a dozen other ways.
Oh, I know, but I still feel responsible.
Oh, don't kid yourself. If it hadn't been you, it would have been some other gal. And it might have been one that wouldn't have helped him out of the spot he got into. If he's worth anything at all, he'll pull himself up now and get a fresh start. Oh, honey, you'll forget all about this in time. Why, 5 years from now, you'll hardly remember what he looked like. Oh, I know. You think you'd like to go away with him and start all over again. But that's just a romantic dream. Why, you'd be sick of it in a month if you tried it.
Good morning.
Good morning. Mr. Holden?
Yes? Anything I can do for you?
Yes. Have you a boy working here by the name of Jimmy Wilson?
Yes.
We'd like to see him.
I'm sorry, he hasn't come in yet. Most unusual. Jimmy's always on time.
We got orders to check up on him.
Check up on Jimmy?
Yeah.
What's he been doing?
That's what we're going to find out. He's been seen with some pretty shady characters. Yeah. Let's have his address.
Why, of course. 465 Lyndhurst Drive.
Thanks, Mr. Holden. I'm afraid your boy won't show up today.
I'm sorry I'm late, Mr. Holden, but I had some business. Two men here asking about you from police headquarters. Police headquarters? Well, what do they want to know about me? They didn't say. Have they got anything against you, Jimmy? Well, no, of course not. What could they have against me? Well, I don't know what you do outside the shop. They said you've been seen with some pretty shady characters. Maybe you better go home, get your folks, take you down to police headquarters. Get this thing straightened out. I don't like police coming here, Jimmy. It isn't good for business. Oh, I don't blame you, Mr. Holden. I'll go right home and do that. Oh, all right. I'm sure there must be some mistake. Two plainclothesmen from police headquarters have been to the shoe store asking about me.
Well, that's pretty quick work. They must have traced the car.
Now, look, you got me into this. You got to get me out. You said you would.
Take it easy. I said I would, and I will. Now go to the bank and get all the stuff out of the safe deposit box and lay low for the rest of the day. At 11 o'clock tonight, meet the boys at 6th and Kent Street. And then what? They'll have some money for you and they'll slip you out of town. After a few weeks, when it blows over, you can come back.
Okay, I'll be there.
Have you got the stuff? It's all in here. Let's get back in here so nobody can see us.
Hey, wait a minute. Somebody's coming. Let's get out of here.
What's the matter, kid? What happened to you?
I don't know.
You'd better come along with us. We'll report it to the police.
No, fellas. Just help me find a cab, will you? I want to go home.
Okay, kid, just as you say.
Mom? Dad? Mother? Dad?
I'll see you. What do you got?
Hello? Yes, sir.
Mr. Wilson in? Tell him his son wants him.
Just a minute, I'll see.
Oh, I've never had such rotten luck. Why, you beat me every hand.
Your boy's on the phone, Mr. Wilson. He wants to talk to you.
Tell him I'm not here. All right, Riley, come on, deal.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir, but your father isn't here.
Well, if he comes in, tell him I call, will you?
You bet. Expecting somebody?
No.
How about a hamburger?
No, thanks. I'm not hungry.
If you're broke, it's on the house. Come on, have one, son. Plenty of onions, eh? French fries and all the trimmings. I'll trust you. You can pay me any time you want.
Okay, thanks.
Give and take, that's my system. Share what you've got, and you'll never want. I've had a lot of guys come in here broke. Never sent them away hungry. And I don't lose by it either. They always come back and pay. Most people are okay. Better give me that gun, son. You can't eat with one hand. I saw it on your face when you first came in here. I've been around, seen all sorts in my time. You learn things about people in this business. Loaded, too. That's dangerous. I might have put up a fight. You know, some guys get sore when you pull a gun on them, and they don't stop to think. Why, you might have even killed me, not meaning it either. Such things happen.
I know.
Better put this away before somebody comes in and sees it. Okay, I'll keep it for you. You can have it any time you want. Funny thing you dropping in here this way.
Why?
Oh, I've been thinking lately I'd like to have a boy like you to help out here. Want a job?
Sure, I want a job.
$15 a week. Your food and lodgings. I got a shack here in back of the restaurant. Ain't much, but it's comfortable enough. A radio, some flowers in the garden, and a dog. What do you say?
Well, you're taking an awful chance, aren't you? I mean, offering me a job this way without knowing anything about me? You see, before
I got to tell you, though, there's one condition attached to it. You'll have to go to church with me every Sunday morning.
Church?
That's right. 6 days a week, I work for myself. On the 7th, I work for the church. I'm an usher, and it wouldn't look right you living in my house and not going to church. Of course, that's only an hour on Sunday mornings. In the afternoons, on fine days, we could go fishing or...
Gee, that sounds swell. Hey, my hamburger.
You're learning fast.
Where can you be? Oh, how I need you. Where can you be? I miss you so. How I've cried and tried, looking down the lonely street. Seems my one and only treat is to wait your return here. How I yearn here. Where, oh, where did you go? Why did you leave me? Didn't you know I'd be forlorn? Now I hope and pray that maybe someday I can say that I'm sorry. Please hear my plea. Where can you be? Where can you be?
You were swell tonight, kitten.
Thanks.
Still thinking about Jimmy, huh?
What makes you think that?
Maybe the way you sang that song? Oh, now look, kitten, I know you've been searching for that kid for 2 months. Why don't you give it up? He's probably 1,000 miles from you. I tell you what we'll do. When you get through tonight, we'll go out and paint the town. You need some recreation.
Okay, Charlie.
What's the matter? Not hungry?
Not very.
Something's bothering you. What is it? Homesick?
No.
I thought you liked it here pretty well. Seem to be settling down.
Oh, I do like it, Al. It's not that. In fact, it's the only time I've ever really been happy. Only...
Spill it, son. You can tell me.
Well, it's just that I've been thinking things over, that's all.
You want to go back and straighten yourself out? Square accounts? Take the load off your mind?
Yeah, I guess that's it. Only I don't seem to find the courage to do it. Would you help me, Al?
I've been waiting to hear you say that, son. Sure, I'll help you. We'll go back and face it together. After they hear your story, I'm positive they'll give you a break. Don't worry.
Oh, gee, that's swell, Al. I feel better already.
You see, Miss Reed, I couldn't let Jimmy give himself up unless he'd seen you first.
And I wanted to see you too, Jimmy, to explain and tell you the truth. Blake was in the other room that night listening. I had to say what I did or he'd have killed you. They tried to the night they beat you up.
And then the things you said weren't true.
Of course they weren't true.
Kitty.
Oh, Jimmy, Blake's the cause of all your trouble and mine, too. If he finds out you're here, he'll kill us both.
No, he won't, because he's going to the police station with me. You and Al can call the cops and follow.
Jimmy, wait! Jimmy!
Just a minute, Mr. Wilson.
Hello, Jimmy. What brings you to see me? Not in trouble again, are you?
No, but you are. I'm giving myself up to the police, and you're going with me.
You're taking it a lot for granted, aren't you?
Maybe I am. But you're going to tell everything that's happened between us.
And if I don't?
The police are on their way here to see that you do.
Okay, Jimmy. I'll go with you.
Hold it. I tried to take the gun away from him, but it went off. Oh, I know I've lied, I've cheated. I've done a lot of things that I shouldn't have done. But maybe I wouldn't have started lying to my schoolmates if I hadn't been ashamed of my home life. If I hadn't been ashamed that my parents were denying me the understanding that a fellow's entitled to. The love and protection that a boy needs. The guidance that sets him straight. And that's why I accuse my parents.
James Wilson, your story is supported by much of the evidence in this case, and I think indicates clearly that you are not guilty of the killing of Charles Blake. And on that count, I find you not guilty. And on the remaining counts of having aided and abetted in the transportation and concealment of stolen property, I find you guilty and sentence you to 5 years in state prison. That sentence is hereby suspended, and you are placed on probation for 2 years. You are to remain in the custody of your parents until you are 21, during which time I hope that you will justify the confidence I am placing in you.
I will, Your Honor.
Jimmy!
As for you, Mr. and Mrs. Wilson, you are not on trial here. But you have seen the tragedy brought about by the neglect your boy suffered. And you are not the only parents guilty of such neglect. I speak to parents everywhere when I say that if, in the pursuit of your own pleasures and occupations, you neglect your children, realize now before it is too late, this might have been your boy.
And so the judge looks directly at us and warns us of the potential delinquency of children who are raised improperly.
Yeah, frankly, my entire score for this movie is based solely on the judge siding with Jimmy, that he had a bad upbringing, and it does kind of play into his being an idiot and causing him to stumble into doing crime. However, it is kind of funny that the judge just sentenced him to go back home to his parents anyway. I guess the moral here is that you can get away with killing a businessman in a struggle and then nearly killing a kindly burger guy as long as the judge who gets your trial is willing to listen to your dumb excuses for being a moron. I'm not entirely sure I know who the audience is for this movie. So I gotta give I Accuse My Parents 2 poops out of 5. I really would love to know what the script writing sessions were like for Mystery Science Theater when they did this movie. Plus, what's the story with the producers paying to send this movie overseas for soldiers? Like, what?
Okay, so a couple of things there. First, your score, that's totally fair. This is a silly movie. If you give it more than a moment's thought, it gets sillier. Jimmy is a high schooler who is never shown actually going to school, but he works and meets a woman who I have to assume is older than him, and he romances her at nightclubs and works for a guy who is clearly a criminal. Like, the guy talks like a movie criminal. Like, how can you not see that, Jimmy?
I can only assume Jimmy couldn't see how much of a criminal Blake was because he's an idiot.
Fair. Second, so yes, we have that message at the end of the movie that says something about how the producers paid to send this movie overseas to the men of the armed forces fighting in the war. I have no idea if that's true or not. It does appear in the IMDb trivia section for the movie, but the movie itself says they did this. I don't know if I can really believe it. Sure, soldiers would have been hungry for entertainment from home, especially those serving at bases. Fine. I'm guessing there were many situations in which they would get a movie night, and like here in the States, you'd probably see a double feature with a B picture and a big time A picture. But why this movie? It doesn't make much sense to me that this movie would be liked for anything other than Mary Beth Hughes. I can assume some soldiers in the war would have been fantasizing about finding a nightclub singer who was a little bit of the girl next door variety, but a million other movies would have had a girl like that. So I could also see this just being some bullshit put in at the end of the movie. Remember, this is an exploitation film. That could also mean making claims that aren't really true, but not offensive to say. As the war raged on, there were, of course, would have been patriotic and nationalistic and jingoistic fervor. So why not say you were sending this movie over to the boys in the war? Maybe it was a way to make sure no one leaves the theater just hating the movie outright.
Well, it didn't make me feel like I wanted to like the movie more.
Hey, that's fine. They can't all be winners. However, I do have two final people to talk about in this movie. The judge who tells us to raise our kids right, or they will become crazed, bloodthirsty criminals. Well, he was played by Edward Earl. He came from Toronto, and his career in film began in 1913. His last film was in 1956, but continued to act for another 10 years on television. In between 1913 and 1966, or the mid-60s at least, he racked up nearly 400 credits on his resume. And his final film was 1956's The Ten Commandments, though he was an uncredited slave in that movie. The kindly burger man who treats Jimmy to a free sandwich and gives him something of a decent home and something that looks like a traditional father figure was played by George Lloyd. Lloyd appeared in over 250 films and television shows in his career that spanned from 1934 to 1956. Many of his roles were uncredited as well, but he has a face that just looks familiar. Like, I believe he's a burger man. I feel like I've seen him play a burger man in movie after movie.
I'd eat a burger if he gave me one.
Hell yeah, but I'd probably pass on the every Sunday going to church stuff.
Yeah, that sounded like harder work than helping him with his burger joint.
So it's safe to say this movie didn't really do gangbusters at the box office. That said, its appearance on MST3K made it something of a cult film for many. Hell, I might as well go ahead and cop to the fact that I chose this movie because I saw it on MST3K. However, there is something kind of interesting about this movie. I will sometimes talk about a movie that showed up a lot on cable when I was a kid, or if you were to ask me why I love Godzilla, I might say I remember when the movies used to play on Saturday afternoons on a local TV station in central Indiana, and that is a warm and fuzzy memory for me. So that said, I found this interesting on IMDb's trivia page for I Accuse My Parents. The movie played as early as January 1949 in New York City on WCBS Channel 2, and then in May 1949 in Los Angeles on KTTV on Channel 11 there. Sometimes it was listed as I Accuse My Past, but I find that interesting. I know horror hosting began in the mid-50s, and obviously that meant movies were aired on TV, but you don't often think about what TV was like in the 40s. I wouldn't have often thought that whole movies played that early on TV, but I have no reason not to think that was a possibility. Anyway, I just found that interesting that this played on TV as early as 1949.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. Say, what's going on with that scheme you had to win money writing an essay?
Oh, yeah, that didn't quite work out.
Really? Why? Geoff, what does PC mean they called you and got mad?
Oh, yeah, about that. I'm pretty sure I crushed the competition when I sent in my essay.
Yeah?
Well, I mean, the organization called me and weren't too pleased when they found out that I was the one who actually wrote the essay.
Why? Wouldn't they want to talk to the person who actually wrote the essay?
Well, sure.
What? It's a contest for elementary school kids?
Poop shoot, you weren't supposed to tell her that.
Geoff, you were trying to win a competition against children to get money?
Yeah, well...
Well, what?
Well, I mean, I didn't know that there was a cash prize. I just assumed the use of the word contest explicitly implied there would be a cash prize.
That doesn't help your case. You still would have been taking money in a competition meant for children.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose so, but I have been making some extra money.
How? And doesn't involve stealing from children?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, a guy just gave me his card and it said, Johnny Businessman, Enterprises, and told me to call if I wanted to make some extra pocket cash.
Geoff, is Johnny Businessman a criminal kingpin?
I don't know. I mean, probably. See you next week, everyone.